Hello everyone, happy Thursday. So, um, you'll have to excuse my ring light is basically on its last legs. It might fall over. When I get some money, I'm gonna try to replace it because it's done. So if it falls over, please bear with me. So today we're going to do a video on the fear of therapy. So when people think of the word therapy, oh, it's for the weak. It's for people who are crazy, right? I'm not crazy. Um, I, I'm normal. I'm not crazy. I don't need to see a therapist. A therapist is gonna, like a story I have, like my mom. Once I told her, um, that I had come out as bisexual. And I told my mom, I wanted to tell my mom, and she freaked out, told me I needed to see a therapist, that I was crazy, that, it was typical homophobic comments. You're crazy, you need to go to a therapist. Um, at one point, I don't even know what it was that caused me to do this, but I remember at one time, um, I was living with my mom. This is 2001, I think. I was living with my mom and I was seeing somebody and she was having a barbecue. And I was like, oh, okay, can I bring, the person I'm seeing to the barbecue? And she said no. Like she didn't just say no, she became really kind of verbally abusive and just was putting me down, was putting this person down who she didn't even know at all. And I had gotten so was it stressed? I don't know what it was, but all of a sudden I was just so like angry that I had actually reached up and like hit myself in the side of the head. And my mom came running out. She's like, "What happened?" I was like, "Nothing." I was like, I told her, I said I hit myself, and she was like, "With your hand?" And I said, "Yeah." She's like, "It sounded like you cracked your head against the wall." But the thing that happened with that was I didn't even realize I had done it until after it happened. It was an automatic stress response, anger response. Um, and so I ended up going to see a therapist. I asked my dad if he would pay for it. He was like, "Yeah, of course." My dad didn't have any issues with me going to a therapist. And my mom was like, yeah, you go to a therapist. You're crazy. And so when I was at the therapist's office, I was talking, right, to the therapist, and the therapist was like, "It kind of seems like the common denominator here is your mom. Do you think your mom would come in for a session?" And I was like, "I don't know, I'll ask her." So I said, "Mom, my therapist wants to know if you would be willing to come in for a joint session." And she was like, "What? I'm not going." She's like, "I'm not going to go see a therapist. You're the crazy one, not me." And, you know, I was, it was, it didn't surprise me that she said that, because at one point I was called by her a sick obsessed psycho who needed to be committed just because I had a picture of my boyfriend in my car. um, so yeah, that's part of my thing, right? um, but yeah, it was that, no, you see a therapist because you're the crazy one, not me. It's not about going to see a therapist. It's not about being crazy. It's about having someone to talk to, right? But going to a therapist, you end up having to be vulnerable. You end up having to um, expose your vulnerability. It's a fear of expressing emotion, which is mostly common with masculine energies with guys, right? Oh, you're not supposed to express your emotions. You're going to a therapist, what are you, soft? I'm just so sick of toxic masculinity. It's the fear of being judged, right? You're sitting down with a doctor. They're not all doctors. Some of them are doctors. Some of them are therapists, right? But you sit down with this medical professional and you talk about your feelings and your thoughts, and it's like the fear is of being judged by that medical professional as being crazy, as needing medication, maybe even needing to be committed. That's where our mind goes. That's where our ego goes. Our ego says, you don't want to go to the therapist because if you do, they're going to find out that you're crazy and they're going to have you committed, or they're going to put you on a. And so we're like, oh my gosh, no, I don't want to go to a therapist because then I'm not crazy. But it's a case of, are you willing to be judged? They're not judging you. It's just a perceived judgment by this therapist versus being judged by people you know. You know, you will be judged more harshly by people you know because they have a preconceived judgment about you as it is, because they know you. This third party, they don't know you. They're only going off of what they've been taught and what you've said to them. They're not going to judge you because this is something that they do every day, is they listen. All they do is listen. They're professional listeners. That's what they are. Okay? You know, there was a time when I felt the same way about therapists. You know, and I had that fear of being judged by someone I didn't even know. It was a case of, why would I go and see this person and tell them all my problems? They're just going to judge me. They're going to think I'm crazy, or they're going to think I'm stupid. They're going to, right? We all have a tendency to fear judgment, fear embarrassment, especially by people we don't know. For me, it wasn't that hard to be judged, to feel that judgment from someone I knew, because basically any chance my mom had, she would go and tell strangers all about my problems and allow them to judge me. So I wasn't really like that fearful of being judged by someone I don't know, because I was judged by people I didn't know all the time, right? Have you ever had those thoughts of, therapy is for crazy people, therapy is for people who are weak, therapy is for people who can't deal with life, right? But it's a matter of, none of us can truly deal with life. We deal with life in different ways, right? So to say, oh, therapy is for people who can't deal with life, therapy then is for everybody. Because everybody, you might see someone who, oh, they have their life together. On the outside, yes. In public, yes. But in private, you don't know. They could be like hoarders, right? Like sometimes, like in the show Hoarders, like on the outside, their house looks nice. Like on some shows, right? The house looks nice. The person is dressed and they look like they have their life together, and then you go inside their house and it's a hoarder house. Well, that's how they deal with life, right? Some people use substances. That's how they deal with life. Okay? So all of us deal with life in a different way. Life is not easy for anyone. And you know, people are like, look at people who are wealthy. And actually next week, I'm going to do a video on wealth, material wealth versus mental health. And people who are rich, they don't deal with life well either. People say, oh, well, they got it easy because they got money. Money, like the song, money ain't a thing, right? It's a tool. People use it as the end, but it's just a tool to get you to where you want to go, right? So people who are rich don't have it any easier than people who don't have money. It's all about the ego and mental health. So how do we get over our fear of therapy? First off, you know, it's about thinking about, why do I fear therapy? Well, I'm afraid of being judged. right? But why are you afraid of being judged? I talk about the why process a lot. Why? I don't need therapy. Why don't you need therapy? Because I'm not crazy. Why do you think only crazy people seek therapists? You have to ask those things yourself. And it could be, well, if I see a therapist, it means that I can't, I'm not able to fix my own problems. Well, a lot of times we have problems we can't fix on our own, okay? Fear of being told, oh, you're not normal. Okay, well, what's normal? Normal is subjective, right? Nobody, you can't judge normal. What's normal? Normal is different for a lot of people. If you look at conservative people, that's normal. You look at Gothic people, to them, that's normal. To me, tattoos are normal. To someone who's really conservative, tattoos may not be normal. Okay? You have to, if it's your fear of being looked at as not normal, what is normal? There's no such thing as normal. It doesn't exist. Okay? It's a fear of being told I'm not like the average person. Okay? Like average in what sense? It's like average. Okay, it's a blanket statement. What's average? To me, everybody needs to see a therapist. Not because I think everybody is like, I don't want to say crazy. That's not the right word. Everybody is abnormal. No, because a therapist offers us a third party, an objective third party, an outsider. Look at our problems and our situation. My mom sent me to a therapist to fix me because I was not normal. I was crazy. And it turns out the therapist was like, no, let's bring your mom in here. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, guess what, mom? Right? Because that therapist was trained to see past the blinders, right? See past the ego and say, well, wait a minute. Okay? You have a common denominator here, and this is your mom. So let's bring her in and see what her side of the story is. And then, of course, it's like, I'm not crazy. Okay. So once you figure out why you're afraid to seek therapy, why you're afraid to seek a therapist, let's talk about some tactics. Okay? Go with someone to their therapy session or have someone come with you. Have someone you trust, a best friend, a parent, a relative. Okay? Therapists understand that your first therapy session is scary because you're afraid of being judged. Like, I was watching 1,000-Pound Sisters and no, 1,000-Pound Best Friends. Sorry. And one of the friends went to a therapist. I think she had to go to a therapist because she wanted to get weight loss surgery. And the doctor said maybe her friend should go too to find out what was causing them to overeat. The friend was like, no, I'm not going to a therapist. I'm afraid of therapists. And so the friend who was going initially said, well, why don't you come with me, for moral support? And so they went together. And the one who was afraid of therapy started listening, and eventually she started opening up to the therapist. And she was like, wow, it's not as bad as I thought. I didn't feel judged. I felt like she understood what I was going through. Like I could talk to her and she's not going to judge me. And it's like, exactly. Okay. You can journal. Why? Right? Oh. So anyway, journal. Right? Why? Let's say, for example, you are like, ask yourself, if I were to go to a therapist, what would I talk to a therapist about? Um, my relationship with my sister is no good. Okay, journal it. Okay, pretend to be the therapist. You know, you can even do something like this online, or like not online, like film yourself. You know, you can start it off by saying, what brings you in today? And then start talking, and then ask the why question. Well, you know, I'm not getting along with my sister. Why? Well, she always makes everything about her. Why do you think she does that? Because she's selfish? Well, have you asked her why? She makes everything about her? Yes, but she gets um really um like triggered and defensive. And how do you react to that? Right? And you can do this by journaling. You could do this here to get yourself ready to talk to someone, right? To get yourself comfortable with talking about your problems. If you say it out loud, you know, if you talk about it out loud, then you'll get used to voicing it. And then you can finally, if let's say finally you do that, mirror. I wrote down mirror too. Say it in a mirror out loud. Have a therapy session with yourself, right? And once you get to the point where you're like, you know what, I think I want to talk to a therapist about what's going on. And you are like, but I need moral support. Bring a friend for moral support. You know? And it's a process. No one is ready to go to therapy. Even if someone says, I need to go to therapy, the first getting into therapy and those first maybe week or two, it's hard because we're afraid. We have that fear of judgment, right? But to me, there's nothing wrong with therapy. Therapists are not for people who have mental illness. They're for anybody who needs to talk out their problems. Okay? It's somebody to talk to. And it's like, oh, well, but they're so expensive. Yeah, because they're professionals. They went to school to learn about how to help you through your problems. Well, and you know, all of these support groups on Facebook and Instagram or wherever they are, don't use those. They're toxic. I've gone into support groups. There's toxic ass people in there. The only support group I was in where there wasn't really that many was my end-stage liver disease support group. But I've been in fitness support groups, toxic ass people, toxic ass moderators, right? So therapy isn't, it's basically, you don't even have to say therapy. Oh, I have someone I talk to. If someone asks you, oh yeah, I just have an appointment. It's just someone I talk to about my problems. Oh, all right. Everybody can use someone to talk to about their problems, right? Someone unbiased, who's not going to have preconceived judgments about you, about your situation, about anything. It's like going to the doctor, right? Or for women, going to the gynecologist. We don't go there with the fear of being judged. We go there with, you're trained to deal with what I got going on down there, so fix it. It's the same thing with the therapist, okay? You go there because they're trained to deal with what you got going on, and they're going to help you fix it. They're going to help you work through it, okay? So that was kind of a shorter video, but fear of therapy. You know, therapy is scary. It's that fear of being judged, right? But we don't have to be judged. We don't have to feel judged because they're not there to judge us. They're there to help us. So never fear. If you need someone to talk to, go find a therapist. It's not scary, and if you feel the need or someone tells you you need to go to therapy, if someone says, oh, you need to go to therapy, don't listen to that, because they're just projecting. Maybe they need to go to therapy and they're projecting it onto you. But if you feel like, well, you know what, I really would like to have someone to talk to about what's going on in my life, go for it. I know it's scary at first, but you can do it, right? I did it. I had many different therapists. I was in a mental health institution for a couple of weeks, and it was actually really good because I got to talk to someone about what was going on in my life. And you never know, they might say, hey, you're depressed, or you have anxiety, or you have this, and let's figure out how to deal with it. So anyway, that was my video on fear of therapy. Thank you guys for watching. All of my information is down below. And that's it. So have a beautiful day, week, weekend, month, year, life. Remember to live in and spread love, joy, compassion, gratitude, kindness, peace, and enlightenment. And I will see you next time.